Commission alongside fellow billionaire Vivek Ramaswamy. Joining us now, former Labor Secretary for President Clinton, Robert Reich. He has written extensively on his Substack about potential consequences of Trump's wealthy selections. Also with us, the co-anchor of CNBC Squawk Box, New York Times columnist, Andrew Ross Sorkin. Good to have you all.
Thank you all for being with us. Mr. Secretary, greatly appreciate you being on the show. I've been wanting to talk to you about this for some time now. It seems the further we get into the nominations, the more we see that this really is looking more and more like an administration, a government for the billionaires, by the billionaires. So what do you find to be the gravest threat of such an accumulation of wealth at the top of the United States government?
Well, Joe, good morning, and Mika, good morning to you. I think the biggest problem with having so many billionaires at the top of government is that billionaires don't exactly know how normal people live. But secondly, and perhaps more importantly, the way people get to the top of the Trump administration is by providing a lot of money. I mean, Elon Musk contributed, the latest data I've seen say that Elon Musk contributed something in the order of $277 million to getting Trump elected. And he has made, since the Trump election, in terms of his actual net worth, he has increased his net worth by $170 billion since the Trump election. Now, that's a pretty good return on investment. And the reason that is such a high return on investment and a high return for many of the other billionaires and multimillionaires in the Trump administration is that they are no longer, and the markets assume that they are no longer going to have to be worried about as many regulations, as many lawsuits. They're going to have a tax cut, an extension of the Trump tax cut. They're going to have, in other words, all the things they wanted and they bargained for when they put money into the Trump campaign. That's the problem. And as Louis Brandeis, the great jurist in America, said years ago, at the end of the last Gilded Age, he was reputed to have said, look, America has a choice. We can have great wealth in the hands of a few people, or we can have a democracy, but we can't have both.
Mr. Secretary, good to have you on this morning. The great irony here, of course, is that Donald Trump won over working class voters across racial and gender lines. He is viewed in many corners of the country as kind of a working class hero, to the extent you can be living in a castle on the beach. But what is the implication of this for regular people, to have people, billionaires in power, billionaires calling the shots? You talked about an extension of that tax cut, which expires at the end of next year, about a year from now, widely expected to be extended. But what does it mean to regular working people to have billionaires running the government?
Well, first of all, if the DOGE, as it's called, the department that's not really a department of government efficiency, actually does, as Elon Musk says it will, try to get $2 trillion cut from the federal budget. Now, your definition of waste and inefficiency and my definition of waste and inefficiency may be different from somebody else's definition of waste and inefficiency, but the only way you can cut $2 trillion out of the federal budget, you being a billionaire who's not going to directly suffer, is you cut where? You cut Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Those are the big places where you go. There is no other place. Or if you want to get rid of regulations, what do? You go try to get rid of health and safety and environmental regulations. Those are the ones that you as a billionaire are really up against in terms of your business. But those same regulations may be extraordinarily important to the average working person in America because they protect that average working person. The same thing with labor law. The same thing with monopolization. What you're going to do as a billionaire, a very influential billionaire who is now at the top of the Trump administration, is you're going to get rid of antitrust laws, which means that big monopolies are going to get bigger and bigger. Prices are going to get higher and higher because of the market power of these big monopolies. And you, as somebody who might want to join a labor union, are going to have less and less opportunity to join a labor union because the regulations are going to be tightened, and it's going to be harder because the billionaires don't want labor unions.
To underline what Secretary Reich said, if you want to cut $2 trillion,